Hello again. This video I'm going to talk about my width year, the areas where I'm going to go wide. And I don't know why I'm hesitating to call it that. It's silly. As you can see, I have a lot of hang-ups about different things. I'm very particular, which is probably part of my problem. Okay, so I've got this. You know what? I think I need to move this. It's on my monitor and it's kind of hard to read actually. I put it in this pretty font and it's pretty, but I can't really read it. Okay, so maybe if I do this. Yeah, there we go. I look like an old lady. Okay, so the areas where I need to do some more exploration, what I put underneath was I'm in a place of stagnation in these areas. So rather than going deep, I'm going to go wide. So spiritual path, even though I did have that on the depth year, there was a particular area that I wanted to explore in more depth. However, I don't want to limit myself to that. And I guess, I should probably try something, but, I don't know how much, when I say wide, I don't know how much time that's actually going to consume. It just means I'm going to broaden my horizons a little bit. Okay, so I put down research and read widely, and I put paganism, witchcraft, any spiritual tradition. So like when I went to the library a couple of weeks ago, I found a couple books on witchcraft. There were a couple on, there was a really good one on, maybe I'll do a separate video on this. I'm just going to put a bunch of stuff out there. It was on paganism and neo-paganism. Okay, I knew they both start with an N, and New Age religions. So it was just a rather academic study of the development of both of those in the United States, Britain, I guess. Basically, those two countries is where it focused. That was really good. A lot of information there because since I've been, and I'm going off on a tangent again, since I've been exploring this stuff the past couple of years, I mean, this stuff has never really been on my radar as far as me practicing it myself. Paganism, Celtic paganism especially, has always been a remote interest. I love reading fiction books about them and nonfiction too. There was a point where I was going to get a master's degree in folklore because that was the stuff I was interested in. So it's been an academic or hobby interest, but not like something I ever thought that I would practice. I got the Tao Te Ching, which I haven't looked at yet. I may not. I guess I've I guess certain, it's written, I don't want to say verse, but I guess sort of like that. So I guess verse is probably the best way to do it, and it just sort of put me off, and I just didn't give it another look. So I had a few books anyway. Tangent. Okay, so I am starting to research, but like I said, that wasn't. It was a little narrow. It was mostly witchcraft and paganism, other than that one. And I take that back. I got a book on the Gnostic Gospels, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, and I looked through those, and I felt like I wanted to read those. And I think maybe, I guess the thing with the library book is obviously you have to turn it back in. You can renew it or whatever, but there's that sense of I need to finish this. And since I tend to get a ton of books, then I kind of look through them all and I'm like, okay, which ones am I going to focus on? And you just don't get to take the time with it. So that might be one that maybe I have to find used, because I guess I want to explore what these books that were, or they were just discovered. So, but some of these books that were not of the official canon of the Bible. So why were they not included? They're sacrilege and all this stuff. It's like, oh, that's not, we don't accept those things and whatever. And so I want to read them because I'm curious. And then I guess I want to sort of make up my own mind, like what I think. Okay, so on my list, I have try prayer and ritual and meditation. I'm having a really hard time getting started with anything. This is a problem in all areas of my life. that I tend to read and research and never take any action. And I guess part of it is it feels a little strange to me because I've only ever prayed in just sort of the normal, I don't know, what is the normal way? To myself, at bedtime or when you need something or you want to thank or whatever, express gratitude. And this feels a little more, formal isn't the word, contrived maybe. I don't know. And I guess it doesn't have to be that way. I'm thinking it needs to look a certain way. And I'm realizing, the one thing is I'm realizing where I have my hangups. So it doesn't have to look a certain way. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. And maybe that's a Catholic thing, that there is a right way and a wrong way. Okay, so I'm having problems getting started with that. I kind of start and stop. And I put an experiment to find what works. So I just need to try one thing and just stick with it for a while and see how it feels, see if I need to change it or try something else, whatever. I also want to try to attend some events or services, and I'm getting really hot now. I'm kind of interested in going to a Unitarian Universalist church. There's one in a city kind of close by, and then there's one across. There's a couple that are close by me. Because I saw, it's something I'd kind of been interested in. And then there's a YouTuber, I don't know her name, I will find out. She is, I think she's Wiccan. She's a witch at any rate, pagan. I think she's Wiccan. But she also goes to a Unitarian Universalist church, and she had a video about, hey, I'm a witch and I go to this church. And she's been going there. She's been Wiccan forever, and she's been going to this church forever too, 30 years or something like that. So, and then I even went and watched some YouTube videos, some sermons or whatever from Unitarian Universalist churches, and they were interesting. I just like we accept everybody. We're not about creed. That's not what they buy into. Okay, so that there are some pagan festivals that go on, maybe just one or two every year, and I've been meaning to go to them. And last year I kind of chickened out a little bit, and then the person I was going to go with wasn't able to go, and I was like, I am not going. It was something I didn't feel comfortable at all going by myself, because it's just so it'd be so new to me that I think I would feel really out of place. Then there's actually I don't know what it's called, a group of druids that are close by, an order of druids, I guess maybe that's and they have, their things are open to anyone, I guess. You just have to say you're showing up or whatever. So there's just some different things that I have access to that I'm kind of like, whoa, I can't even believe this stuff is available. That's just because I didn't know, and I feel like I'm in this corner of in this area where that stuff isn't available, and it is. Okay, now I'm drinking hot chocolate. Okay, so the next thing is hobbies. So I did have some hobbies on my other list because there were a few things that I already have, and this is expanding those, and then maybe another hobby. So with the jewelry that I talked about with my depth ear, I need to go wide on that. Well, maybe it's deep. See there, I'm getting nitpicky on stuff. I need to probably take a class, because that is something that I can't figure out on my own, and I'm not sure. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos last year or the year before, whenever I got the stuff, and I'm not sure that's gonna really work for me either. So there's some places that have jewelry classes, so I may do that, and maybe that should have been on the other list, whatever. Then for some reason, I'm thinking about doing embroidery. My mom used to do embroidery. I don't know if I saw some somewhere and was like, oh, that's cool, because it was something that was interesting to me. My mom just did, flowers or, whatever, kind of, I guess what you would call boring stuff. I've never been good at sewing. My hands and my fingers are kind of big, so I don't know if that will be an issue. I'm going to just try something that's kind of easy that doesn't have, I know, because I know there's like tons of different stitches, and I think that was part of my issue with sewing was that, I don't know, maybe it's just too meticulous. I just didn't, I'm not very good at it. So I'm not sure if embroidery is the thing for me, but I may try it. Okay, so those are the only things I could really think of. My schedule, I had this all kind of in one big line. Schedule, systems, organizing, simplifying, and finishing up things that are still undone. I'm not really sure why I threw those all together. I guess they're sort of, to me, they're kind of the same type of thing. They all have to do with structure and organization, whatever. Schedule, I've been struggling with a schedule probably forever. When I had a job, it didn't really matter because someone else was telling me what to do with my time. But after having my son and being at home all the time, with the exception of, I did have a couple of little stints there where I was working part-time as a graduate assistant, but that was, a minute part of the whole 15 years that I haven't had an actual full-time job. It's just been very difficult for me to figure out how to structure my day. I've tried various different things. I can't stick with it. That seems to be a recurring theme. I probably don't give it enough time. And then there's also this part of me that, doesn't like the structure. And I try to make it loose. It's like, it's at one point I was like, okay, 10 o'clock I was going to do this. And then at 10:30 I'm going to do this. I had everything scheduled, because I wanted to make sure I got to everything. And that was part of the thing. It's like, well, I'm not getting to the things that I want to do. So I need to schedule everything. And I was like, no. How about you do it in bare chunks? Like you have a 2 or 3 hour chunk, and in this chunk you do this, and this in whatever order. It was still like 5 different things, but I could do it whenever, and I just had that much time. That didn't really work. I'm like, okay, maybe that chunk needs, because then I was like, okay, I do better, I guess most people do, when I can focus on one thing for a long period of time. I hate saying I only have a half hour to do this and then I have to do something else. It's like, no, I'd rather just know I've got 2 or 3 hours. That's a luxury, obviously, to do this thing, and that's all I'm going to work on. And maybe there's a couple different things within that, but it's basically one type of thing. And then, so I only get 2 types of things done during the day, with maybe a few chores here and there. That's okay. I have that luxury that I can do that. And I just haven't figured out a way that works for me. So I need to try to work on that, because this has been going on and on and on. And I'm like, there are things that I want to do that are just not getting done. There are things that need to be getting done that aren't getting done. Okay, so on the same note, systems, which are like habits that have to do with things you do around the house or whatever, like the laundry system. Okay, like, hey, it's Tuesday. As soon as I get up, I throw a lot of laundry in, and then I have it all done by Tuesday night, whatever it is. So I need to kind of come up with some ways to do things. And obviously I do have systems, but they're by default, they're not necessarily the best way to do them. They're not efficient. Okay, organizing, simplifying, finishing up things still undone. I think basically what I was thinking there was, I still have a lot of stuff that I kind of haven't unpacked from when we moved in August. I had this problem at the last apartment too. I have places to go with them, but I also mentioned that I'm an everything out. I think her name is Julie Morgenstern. I want to say she has some sort of organizing book, and she has different types of people have different types of organizing styles. And unfortunately, even though I kind of look like I'm organized, I'm really not. So rather than, I have a basement, rather than putting the stuff down in the basement and then just writing on a list, hey, you need to put this shelf up when you have time, because if it's not critical right now, then I leave the shelf where it's like, hey, you need to deal with this. So that doesn't work. So I'm having some struggles there. Okay, so the next area is interests for my purpose or for my future life. Kind of, and this is going to be explained, I will explain this kind of all in some other videos. And I don't remember if I mentioned this at all. I probably didn't, because it would have been, I guess, in my intro video, and I probably didn't really touch on it. So I'm not sure where to start with this. I guess I'll just read what I have and then I will explain it. So eco-village type things. Research some other areas that I've listed elsewhere. So like I've gone online, and this will make sense in a minute. And bookmarked a bunch of different classes and concepts and things that I'm looking into. And I put work on one at a time rather than doing several at once. Well, okay, I don't know about that. Okay, so this stuff came up from my little epiphany back in 2015, which again I will talk about. It's a stupid epiphany, but it kind of hit me hard. Just basically about, I don't buy into the way the consensus reality. Okay, I just don't like the way the whole world works, and I feel like so many of our problems, we're like fixing symptoms rather than, because no one wants to like take this bigger look, like get outside of the box, I guess, outside of the bubble, and look down at it and go, oh, you know what? We're doing everything wrong. Like if we would just, because it's so much a part of us that it's like, well, we can't change that. That's how we do stuff, That's how society works. This is how society's always worked, or we've figured it out. This is the pinnacle of our of our development. I don't buy into that. I feel like there are just some fundamental things wrong that need to be switched. So one of them is, and I'm not saying this, everybody has to buy into this and this is the way everybody should live, but it's like intentional living or eco-villages. So people living in community, not necessarily all living in one big house. I mean, it could be any one of a number of ways, but like a village, if you will, where there is a shared purpose. And again, there's so many different ways you could do this. There's co-housing, which is basically people living in close proximity, but they still go off to, do their job, but they maybe share meals a couple times a week. They pitch in and do other stuff around. So there's more a sense of community, neighborliness. They have a vested interest in the other people that are living there. It's not just, hey, Sam, how you doing? See ya after work kind of thing. There's eco-villages that are, obviously by the name, they're into sustainability and, not making, I'm losing words here, reducing their carbon footprint, growing their own stuff, whatever. I just feel like I need some kind of community for me. So when I said purpose and future, I mean, I'm looking at this as something that I want to do personally. I don't know when that will ever happen because there aren't really any around here that I could just join. And I'm not really I don't know how my son would feel about that. I would think it would be an awesome fit for him actually, but I'm not sure how I would feel about it. And I can't really pick up and go move to one. And would be a pretty drastic, like if I went full eco-village or something, that's a pretty drastic change. So that's in the future, and I don't know what I want it to look like. However, I do also want to just explore that as just sort of an academic way. There are also other things about, and there's just too many to even list here, ways of making decisions, ways of, I guess it's decision making mostly. There's something called sociocracy, there's holacracy, group consensus, you know. I'm sorry, I'm not making sense here, but because I kind of got a bunch of stuff jumbled in my head. One thing I didn't have down here was anarchy. Anarchy. I've been looking into that because that doesn't mean what we mostly think it means. It has a bad connotation to it. So when we say anarchy, it's like, oh, it was anarchy out there, meaning mayhem, riots, whatever. That is not what anarchy means. It means no government, not no law and order. Well, I guess it could mean that, but it doesn't mean that everyone's going completely bonkers. It just means that people are sovereign unto themselves, and we don't need government to tell us what to do or what we can't do. And I know that that can sound, even if you don't think it means the other thing, that can still sound like, well, shit, what's going to keep everybody from running around and killing each other? It's like, do we really think that if there was no government, maybe some people would, but do we really think that the majority of people are going to be like, oh, hey, there's no law that says I can't go kill my neighbor. Well, guess what? I'm going to go kill my neighbor now. I've just been waiting for that law to be repealed, you know? I mean, I just don't think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, that's kind of far-fetched to a certain degree, but there are tons of people out there that are totally buying into this, and have been. I mean, it's not anything new. It's been, nothing is new under the sun. So that was another area. And like I said, that's a whole series of videos probably. So back to my list, social and activities. I have not been social forever. I mean, really a long time. Since we moved back, but we had lived in several other cities before moving back there. Had a few friends in, well, like the middle place that we were at. With the first place, we weren't really there long enough to have friends. The second place was like so far out of our depth or whatever, we didn't know anybody there. And it was just really hard to make friends. 1 second, I've got a notification here I need to get rid of. That's not going to show up on the camera, right? That's just on my phone. I'm so stupid when it comes to this stuff. Anyway, I really don't have a set of friends. The friends that I do talk to are friends like from high school, that I'm really good friends with, but they live really far away. So yeah, I could talk to them more, but I'm kind of one of those people that I don't make the first move. And, if they come to visit or something, they will come see me and we'll go do something and have an awesome time. But unfortunately, they live 1,000 miles away. So long story short, really don't have any friends. And I kind of sometimes don't have time, again, because of taking care of my son and having him the majority of the time, and then chickening out a little bit when I do have to. I mean, I've done a couple things here and there that haven't really panned out. There isn't a whole lot going on here. I'm trying to find something that really resonates with me, and there just isn't anything. I have to go a little bit too far away, further away than I want to. So I'm going to have to just take what's here and just to do something, whether or not I think it's going to be like, this might be kind of lame, or it might not be my kind of people. I don't know until I go. So some meetups, that kind of thing, taking some classes, like I probably should take a yoga class. There's some art classes I can take. I just need to get out and do some stuff. So that's where I need to go wide. Okay, this is getting long again. So I have self-exploration in general, which I was kind of doing more of this back in 2015, 2016 when I started having my epiphany, and that's when I first separated from my ex-husband. So I had a lot of time there to think about stuff, and it was just like, I don't know, there was just all sorts of stuff going on. I was like, writing through notebooks like you wouldn't believe. Okay, so here I have journaling, and I have what I call my thinking notebook. Like, I don't know, when I started this, I would just come up with a question and be like, why am I having a problem with this? And so it would basically a journal, I guess. But sometimes I wouldn't necessarily answer the question. I would just maybe I would have a bunch of questions and I would just make them on a different page. And then sometime I would go through and be like, okay, I really need to sit down and think about this. So I guess it was basically journal prompts. I just called it my thinking notebook. I have some resources, again, that I've either purchased or things that I've downloaded that I can make use of to do this self-exploration. And there's probably more to it. I just didn't, I probably didn't flesh this out quite enough. Okay, and I put creative pursuits other than hobbies. I'm not really sure what I meant like by that, but I guess just it doesn't have to be a hobby. Okay, so YouTube, I put that down. I guess that's a hobby. Decorating my apartment. I haven't put nothing up here. I don't have a whole lot of decorations anymore. I never really did before, but there's like no good place for the stuff that I have. I have this huge wall here, and anything I put on it, I'm either have to like cover it with everything, or it needs something really big, and then all the other little areas are like too small for the things that I have, so I kind of just like, forget it. And I had like prettifying things, so instead of buying something new, like, oh, I hate my pencil cup, I'm going to go buy a new one because it's boring and ugly. Well, maybe I'll just decorate it or something. So that's kind of a creative thing. I wouldn't call that a hobby necessarily, but I have this ugly toolbox that my ex-husband gave me. You know, I guess we had two. He gave me one. It's just black. It's boring. And I started drawing on it one time. I'm like, I just need to like, get going with creativity and just make it look pretty, rather than going and buying a pink one or something so that it looks pretty. I had parenting down again, and I guess I mean for there, so I need to go deep and I need to go wide on parenting. There's some skills I need that I don't know what they are. And I put, how do I figure out what skills I need there? I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I know a lot of it has to do with we parent how we were parented. And so I'm kind of hands off a little bit, because that's kind of how I was parented. And, well, it's easier too. And I can't kind of figure out a balance. Again, this is my major struggle is, because I guess I figure like there's one right answer, and probably a lot of people would say, well, there is a right answer. But I'm not really sure that's true about lots of things anymore. Okay, then the last thing I did put down Oracle decks. So I put allow myself at least one new deck. And did I mean the whole year? I guess I did. And learn some spreads for these, or use them in combination with a tarot deck. And then I put see Kellyanne Maddox's patchwork spread. So Kellyanne Maddox, I've mentioned her in a different video. Sorry, I got a notification. And she did a spread where she used both tarot cards and oracle cards. And I like to use a spread where I can, I'm sorry, I'm really losing my train of thought all of a sudden. This might have to be my last video tonight because I think I'm losing it. Rather than just picking, like doing a daily draw. And I apologize if you're not into tarot or oracle and you're kind of not knowing what I'm talking about. I apologize. A lot of people will either take a tarot deck or an oracle card deck, and maybe it's part of their morning routine, or when they get up or whatever, they'll just draw a card or maybe a couple of cards, and that'll just sort of set the tone for their day. Like, here's something I need to be mindful of today, or, oh, hey, it says I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to try to have a great day, or whatever. I guess I prefer to sort of have a spread that has some sort of meaning, like, here's my problem, here's some things I need to look at regarding my problem, or whatever it might be. And I don't know that tarot spreads don't necessarily work for oracle decks, but sometimes there's less interpretation for an oracle deck. They're a little more, there's less interpretation. A tarot card can have so many different meanings that if it's in a certain spot and it's like, well, this is supposed to mean this, you can be like, okay, well, I can figure out one of these things is going to kind of make sense here. It may not work that way with an oracle card. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there's actually some spreads out there for oracle cards. Of course, all the oracle card decks are different. Tarot cards are basically all the same. And oracle decks are completely, they have their own rules. So that may not help either. Okay, so that's my list for the areas where I want to go wide. this year. And I think I'm going to leave it there because I think I'm about ready to run out of room, and it may have already cut me off. I hope not. So I will put this out this week, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.